What's going on, everybody? It's Nitro for Nitromaniac TV's a wrestling channel, and this is my take on All In. Yes, the biggest independent wrestling event ever in the history of anything took place on Saturday, September 1st, 2018, from the Sears Center in Chicago, Illinois. They got the house. They got their 10 grand that they had, well, not promised, but they had wanted. As a crowd, and it looked on the pay-per-view broadcast like a legit 10 grand crowd. I had not seen people up in the upper decks of a wrestling show in the United States at an arena in a long time on any telecast, so it was good to see that go through and that happen. So anyways, what I like to do on Nitro's Take is it's kind of my take, my opinions. It's not so much a review recap as it is just little things that I've spotted during the telecast, spotted during the event, and, just talk about them, bring them to light here, and get your opinion on it. And then at the end of it, I give a little rating on the event out of 10, just focusing in on rewatchability, watchability of the event itself, how it flowed, how it ebbed, etc. if you're brand new to this. And I know a few of you are, and so thank you very much, and here we go. Watch the 0 Hour, which is kind of their free-for-all show on WGN America prior to. Loved the opening bit with Cody and the Young Bucks walking out and kind of hamming it up with the crowd, and then bringing out Road Warrior Animal on a Harley. That was pretty awesome. And then the free merch chill to get things going was pretty spectacular. That was really funny. The opening contest, SoCal Uncensored, Kazarian and Scorpio Sky versus the Briscoe brothers. This was, I thought, teeing up to be a squash for Briscoes, because they made the Briscoes on Being the Elite look like just world enders over the past couple of weeks here. And the whole SoCal Uncensored training montage and that stuff, and kind of doing the Rocky motif and everything throughout. The build-up was awesome. The match itself was great. I think it was probably one of the better tag matches I've seen this year in 2018. You'd have to think that with both these teams being in Ring of Honor, that it gives SoCal Uncensored a tag title shot, somewhere down the line, with the surprise result of SoCal Uncensored beating the Briscoes. It was a awesome back and forth match. They gave it a lot of time too. I want to say that maybe the first 20-25 minutes of the program was devoted to this match, and it was it was your typical Ring of Honor pace, but it was just the crowd was hot for it. They loved it. It's pretty amazing watching a match of that caliber with a crowd that's that into it, which everybody was. So no complaints about that. That was an excellent opener to everything. Probably, like I said, the best match I've seen on a free-for-all or a preview show in a long time. Probably dating back to Mania 33 with Aries and Neville for the Cruiserweight title. The over-budget Battle Royal, what a name. Dave Meltzer just went on Wrestling Observer on a newsletter, and I think on a radio podcast too. I'm not exactly sure as of I'm recording this. I'm recording this on the Tuesday after. Again, full disclosure, I was not around when the show initially aired. I ended up watching it via PVR, found a copy of the free-for-all online and watched it, or the 0 Hour show online, I should say, watched it there, because we don't get WGN America in Canada. We just get the normal WGN, which is just a Chicago Superstation. So, well, at least on my cable provider, maybe yours was different. That's a long story in itself. But the over-budget Battle Royal, 19 men. Flip Gordon winning it, dressed as El Chico the Luchador after getting powerbombed through the table by Bully Ray to begin the entire thing was just insane to begin with. I popped huge for it, because with the high angle and the way Flip had his haircut, I was like, holy crap, is that CM Punk? But then I looked again at the camera, it's like, oh no, it's just the quality of the internet feed I was watching. It was Flip Gordon, right. Man, good for that, you know, you kind of felt that Flip would work his way into All In somehow. It was just kind of the way the storyline was progressing, that he would get in there, whether it would be either sneaking in or as a surprise entrant in a match or something. And yeah, he got in there all right, ended up winning the whole dang thing and got a Ring of Honor title shot later on in the night against Jay Lethal. More on that later. The big thing that came out of this was the ton of new names that I'd seen just for the first time, you know, not having a chance to check these people out regularly as some of you might on the indies and that stuff. Jordan Grace was very impressive for me. You know, I really enjoyed watching her work in that Battle Royal. Marco Stunt was another one. Austin Gunn, who's Billy Gunn's son. I have a whole list right here in front of my computer, so if you see me, just kind of look at whatever. So, but they're saying Jordan Grace, Marco Stunt, Austin Gunn, who is Billy Gunn's son. This is the first time I've seen him wrestle at all, and he was very impressive to me. Brandon Cutler is another one that I hadn't seen maybe in a while. I think I recall watching him like very early on, maybe last year in 17 on something. But it was very, very, of course, impressive. I think those 4 or 5 individuals were probably the stars of the entire thing. Meltzer, again, getting back to the point, that said it was just the best laid out Battle Royal he's ever seen. That's saying something, because the dude has seen some Battle Royals and probably seen some crappy Battle Royals too. But this was an awesome Battle Royal, told an awesome story. It got Flip Gordon over with the crowd, and Flip Gordon got into All In via winning the over budget, over the top Battle Royal. Had to look at see what the name is, but there you go, and got the title shot. The actual pay-per-view card started with Matt Cross, M-Dog Matt Cross. You might know him on Lucha Underground as Son of Havoc, wrestling MJF in the opener. And MJF is a guy that I've seen a lot of recently, and they said is only a couple years in the business, and that's the guy's already got star potential as a major heel wherever he goes. I have a feeling we might see him in Impact. I think that's probably the route he's trending, because he likes to wrestle in the Eastern Canada and Eastern United States area, kind of homesteading, I think, out of New York State. I'm not exactly sure. But you see him a lot on Smash and on Border City, stuff like that going forward. So, you know, you'd probably see him on Impact Wrestling, I would think, sooner rather than later, now that they've headquartered everything out of Toronto. This match was, again, another great opener for the pay-per-view. Like, I mean, you had a great opening match for it all with the tag match. But this match here was just stunning. This was a great showcase of both guys. If you've never seen either guy wrestle before, you know, it was a great show of what both guys could do. Of course, watching Lucha Underground, you see a lot of Matt Cross as Son of Havoc, but, you know, it was fun to see him wrestle just as Matt Cross here and without the mask and without all of the Son of Havoc, I don't want to say character limitations, but the character qualities that you have to portray on that show, and just have a guy just let loose, you know. And it's the same with MJF. It just was you know, it just felt like a really, really big independent card. So just have those guys just let loose and do their thing. So very fun opener, great match, you know, and Matt Cross got the win. And man, Cross has an amazing shooting star press. Just beautiful. Then came the celebrity involvement of the card. Christopher Daniels, with the other 2 members of SoCal Uncensored, took on Stephen Amell, yes, the actor of Arrow fame, who came to the ring with Josh Segarra. I'll admit ignorance, I haven't been watching as much Arrow as I should. I do love the show, so the actors, if I mispronounce Josh's name, I apologize for that, but it was a, you know, as far as celebrity involvement goes in a contest, I thought it was one of the better matches with a celeb I've seen. Again, that's dating back to his SummerSlam encounter, which was his pro wrestling debut, again with Cody Rhodes, back then was Stardust, and Wade Barrett. And Neville was actually Stephen Amell's partner in that. I want to say that was SummerSlam of 2015, I think. Yes, 2015 SummerSlam. I don't think it was 2016. I think it was 2015. But this was Amell's first singles match, and if you watched it, you would figure it was probably his 6th or 7th, because there was a little bit of things that you could tell he was green on and that stuff. Like the elbow drop through the table was kind of looked more like a lame duck flying through the air and that stuff, than more of like a wrestler dropping an elbow or anything like that. And there were a few things there where you could tell that Daniels was kind of screaming the spot at him what he wanted him to do. You can overlook those things, though. That's just, if you have good production and that stuff, especially on a live event and everything, and they did, you can edit that out fairly quickly on the fly as it goes to air and that stuff, and cover it and make it look good, make it look gooder, make it look better, I should say, as the match grows on. But no, this was a very passable match for a celebrity involvement and a guy who maybe has had under a handful of matches, and this was his first singles encounter. And what a way to do it in front of 10,000 people in Chicago. It's your first singles match against Christopher Daniels, right? Daniels got the win. Was a fairly good paced match, too. I really didn't have any issues with the pace. It's just that you could tell there was some spots there where Amell was green, and will probably still be a little green, until he works 15 matches, and then he'll have it down, pat like that. But, going forward, hey, Stephen Amell, as a wrestler, love it. And I got to watch more Arrow. That's just what I got to do. Next up, we had a 4-corner survival match. This was the women's involvement of the card. You had Tessa Blanchard, who came to the ring with her family, of course, Tully Blanchard, her dad, and I think her uncle, Magnum TA, and that was pretty cool. You got to see also Chelsea Green come to the ring in kind of like a Roddy Piper-esque half and half type gimmick, where she was kind of half Laurel Van Ness and half Chelsea Green. That was pretty cool. Madison Rayne, who is all over the place right now, and man, she deserves it. We'll be seeing her in the Mae Young Classic here later this week, because they taped it all in August, and here she is, rolling out in September, doing the All-In thing. So, good for her to get in there. And Britt Baker using Adam Cole's Ring of Honor entrance music. They played up a couple times in this match up to the romantic involvement of 2 of the participants and their significant others that they have at the time right now, or that they are involved with, I should say. And it was pretty good. You had the Adam Cole theme music from Ring of Honor for Britt Baker, and then the broski boot that Chelsea Green did on, I think it was Blanchard in the corner. I have to go back and watch the tape again, but alluding to her involvement with Zack Ryder, and that was, the inside fans love that, and that's, the smart fans, the smarks, they love that. They eat that up. So I popped for those. That was a lot of fun and a lot of good stuff. The only knock I have about this entire match was the commentary. Unfortunately, they substituted out Don Callis in this match and brought in Tennille Dashwood and Mandy Leon from the Women of Honor division in Ring of Honor to sit in with Excalibur and Ian Riccoboni. The issue with that is it became a 4-person booth, and I think Mandy and Tennille may have talked over top of each other a couple of times during it, and may have led away from what they were trying to convey over commentary and that stuff. I would have just picked one or the other. To me, I would have just threw Tennille out there, because she's got the big match coming up at the end of the month on pay-per-view with Sumi Sakai for the Women of Honor title. Maybe just hype that up and that stuff. I don't know. I've maybe used Mandy in another role a little bit later on or something. Maybe it's a guest interviewer or something. That's a small thing, but the match itself was a very Shimmer quality 4-way match. Like, this thing would have easily main evented any Shimmer DVD that's been out there, which is pretty cool. And they alluded to Shimmer a few times during the match and that stuff, and how important that promotion's been. So, hey, kudos to them for doing that. That was great. And Tessa Blanchard getting the win. Big week for her because, again, taped earlier in August, but she became the Knockouts champion over an Impact, and then on Thursday, and it comes right into All In, gets the win. So just big things going forward, and a great sampler for people who, you know, may have not known much about these four individuals on the independent circuit on what they're about. So, you know, going forward, that was awesome. NWA title match, Cody versus Nick Aldis. This was a classic encounter. Not much to say about it other than go watch it. I really enjoyed this match. Cody walks out with the NWA title and is the second half of the only father and son to ever hold it, with his dad, Dusty Rhodes, of course, being the NWA World Heavyweight Champion way back when. And Cody Rhodes is his first run with the NWA title. This is how you establish or reestablish a brand, everybody. This was very good, kind of a reestablishment, you know, the partnership with Ring of Honor that Billy Corgan brought in, with all this showing up at some of the Ring of Honor events to lead up for it. You know, this has some cachet now. Now Cody can walk onto either Ring of Honor television or any independent event that the NWA decides to run, and will have some swagger with his belt, and his belt means something again. So it's pretty cool to see that. Not saying that, you know, Aldis or Tim Storm, who held the belt prior to Aldis, weren't doing much with the belt, but in order for Corgan and the NWA to become a factor again, I think they got the right guy to do it. And they have a name that is a household name and that stuff. And I love the entourages that both fight camps had. I mean, like, you had Diamond Dallas Page and Glacier and, you know, just numerous people who are important to Cody's life, and even his dog walked into the ring. That was pretty cool. And then, you know, all this, you had Tim Storm, the guy who he beat for the belt. You had Jeff Jarrett, you know, the guy who basically resurrected the NWA again in the 2000s with NWA TNA, right? And Sean Daivari, who's a close confidant with all this. And Sam Shaw was another guy as well. And it just, you know, both sides, it was like a legit, you know, title fight. Like you'd see in like an MMA, or they gave that real MMA or UFC feel to it. And Earl Hebner as the ref, go back and watch it. Great match. I think it's up there, honestly. It'll be on my short list of Match of the Year candidates. I really like the pace of it. Love the whole thing in the middle of it when they were. That's about the only takeaway from it that I would say, is that they stalled for time too much when Cody, you know, allegedly got hurt on the outside of the ring, and DDP and Daivari had the little standoff in the middle of the ring, which ended up with DDP giving the diamond cutter to Daivari. You know, you have to be a little quicker and a little faster with those type of things. Otherwise, if they draw out longer than 2 or 3 minutes, then people are like, oh, okay, you know, they kind of anticipate something's going to happen there, right? But other than that, that's like the only real negative takeaway out of it. Everything else was positive. This was awesome. This was a great way to reestablish the NWA, and Cody has another belt in his collection, so there we go. The Chicago Street Fight with Hangman Page versus Joey Janela was, you know, this was kind of a weird booking for me, like, to see. I would have preferred it to see Joey Ryan in that spot. I know that the storyline they had going, you know, kind of precluded Ryan from actually being in attendance till after the match, which had happened. But, you know, showcasing Janela in that spot, though, was pretty cool, too. You know, the Chicago crowd loved Janela. They loved Page as well. It definitely was something that was very enjoyable to watch from start to finish. The after-match stuff I could care less for. I really thought that it was kind of a little bit of a real hokey thing with the rather phallic druids, I guess, and Joey Ryan kind of quote-unquote being resurrected out of that. I think that was kind of a little bit of a dig at The Undertaker, obviously, and that stuff. But, you know, they do what they do. That was their creative. They've decided to roll out with it. I wouldn't have rolled that way with the creative off of that whatsoever. Like I said, I would have had just straight up Hangman versus maybe a mystery opponent, and that mystery opponent being Joey Ryan. Not even a hardcore match either. You could have it just straight one-on-one. But, you know, it brought a little something extra to the crowd, and I think that's what they were going for, is trying to load up this card with as much talent, as much stuff as you could see, you know, potentially on an independent card of this magnitude. So that's what it was. And, you know, Janela looked great. Paige looked awesome. Again, big, huge 2018 for him. I think he's been one of the standout guys in 2018 for sure. Ring of Honor World title was up next, and Flip Gordon, who had won the Battle Royal earlier, came back to the ring accompanied by Brandy Rhodes, taking on Black Machismo Jay Lethal, which was really cool. They did the little vignette before the match where Lethal was warming up in the back and that stuff, and all of a sudden a hand comes out of nowhere and slaps him on the shoulder, which is kind of a trick thing to switch gears and activate the Black Machismo character. And it was really cool to see the garb that Jay Lethal was wearing, the Macho Man's WCW debut garb from like 94, late 94, early 95. It was like, oh yeah, I remember that, absolutely, for sure. Great match between the two of them. There were a few times there where you thought that Flip was actually going over and walking out with the title. That would have been an awesome way to kind of end Flip's storyline going into All In. And, you know, the event itself is to walk out the Ring of Honor World Champion. Here you were not even booked on the show, and then you ended up winning the Battle Royal and then winning the Ring of Honor title going forward. But I think this way works good too. It'll be interesting to watch Ring of Honor TV in the next few weeks to see what they do with it, you know, leading into Death Before Dishonor as well. So, and I think, you know, I have to look at the card as well for that event. But I think that there's some sort of four-way or something with Dalton Castle, and I got to take a look again and see. I've been kind of neglecting on the Ring of Honor watching for over the past month or so, so I got to kind of get more re-immersed into it. You can throw in the comments below, obviously, to what your thoughts and your direction will be going forward with Flip Gordon going out of All In and now rolling forward into the fall and that stuff. But I think this was a breakout night for him, and I think that's what they drew up, was to put the kid over and send him to the moon. And that's what they did. Then we got into the main event portion of the card, where we had Kenny Omega versus Pentagon Jr., or Penta L0 as he was called during this, just due to the name, independent branding, copyright. You know, you've read about it, you know about it by now. This again was an interesting match because, again, you had the crazy guy from Impact versus, you know, the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. I thought they meshed really well. I thought that this was something that I'd love to see a sequel of. And, you know, with Omega getting the win, of course, you could kind of telegraph that was going to happen when they booked it. A lot of the main characters, with the exception of Adam Page, would probably get the win from the Being the Elite YouTube series in their matches and that stuff in this thing. So that was good. What I didn't expect was, you know, the lights going out and Jericho, you know, emerging at the end there and basically challenging Omega, or dropping the gauntlet, you know, physically by laying out Omega again with Codebreaker for a match on a cruise. So that'll be definitely something, if you're going on a cruise, to go check out. Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega, probably confirmed in some sort of match off of that, whether it's a singles rematch from their Wrestle Kingdom encounter earlier this year, or it might be a multi-man that's involved in a multi-man tag or something like that too. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see as the weeks progress on, but that's another huge independent main event that will be happening in the coming months in October. Kazuchika Okada versus Marty Squirrel. Again, this was, again, back to my point here. All of the main members of Being the Elite YouTube show and that stuff, and of the Bullet Club, kind of did well in their matches, with the exception of Paige and Marty Squirrel. Marty Squirrel ended up losing to Okada, but Squirrel had a very good showing against Okada. This was probably one of Squirrel's best matches in North America, and you know, that's saying something. Dude's had a lot of matches. Enjoyed this one a lot from top to bottom, and that's pretty much all I have to say with that one. It's you know, just go out and seek this match. This was my pick for match of the night for sure. I loved this encounter for sure. And then the main event match, another great showcase match to showcase kind of what you know, the Elite and the Bullet Club are all about now, and that stuff. The marketing and merchandising machine with the Golden Elite of Ibushi and the Young Bucks taking on Bandito, Rey Fenix, and Rey Mysterio. It was really cool to see Mysterio again. It always is. You know, he seems to be really enjoying just being this independent dude that takes bookings 6 times a year now for different big events, which is kind of the in vogue thing to do in wrestling. So, you know, going forward, that was awesome. And it was, again, another great showcase match of, you know, to showcase what, again, kind of more what Phoenix, Bandito, and Young Bucks and Ibushi are all about. I think we all know what Mysterio is all about now at this point, and his skill level and what he brings to the table. But, you know, a lot of, as Kalisto would say, good lucha flippy things happening in that match. So, but the Golden Elite took the win, and they promptly signed off. The length for the card from front to back on the main card was 3 hours and 57 minutes, right on the dot. And there was some talk that some things had been shortened, like the NWA title match had been shortened by 6 minutes, and so on. So we'll wait and see once, you know, all the dissection and all the autopsy is done on this event. But you know, if they came in 3 minutes under the, I guess, satellite clearance that they had, then that's perfect. That's what you want to do. Kind of come in with, you want to go as close up to, you know, in the live television environment, to your allotted window as you can without leaving too much allotted window left. Like, you've seen sports events that are blocked on your cable thing and that stuff for like a end time of like 10:30 that started at 5, and like a baseball game or something like that, and they drastically cut short, so you have to watch reruns of, like, you know, Hot Stove Talk or something like that with some retired players or something. This year, you know, everybody got their money's worth for sure, and with a decent price. I think it was $44.99 here in Canada to order the thing on pay-per-view on HD, and I definitely think that everybody got their money's worth. My rating out of 10 for All In will be a solid 9. I have it shortlisted as a card of the year contender with Wrestle Kingdom and NXT TakeOver New Orleans going forward. This thing here was really, really good, and it was the exact opposite of SummerSlam. It was a 4-hour card that didn't feel like a 4-hour card. It felt like everything kind of flowed and really ebbed very nicely throughout it. So, but anyways, that's it for now. I'm Kellen Nitro. Thanks again for hanging with me while I dissected all this. You can follow me on Twitter, and feel free to comment and debate on anything that I said in this video at Kellen Nitro. Over on Instagram, same thing, at Kellen Nitro as well. And see you later. Happy wrestling watching later days, and we'll catch you all next time. And here's hoping for an All In 2. I think they kind of maybe hinted towards it, perhaps maybe in the LA area sometime, you know, in the near future, maybe next year or something like that. I wouldn't mind seeing this as like a Labor Day tradition, you know. It's like an independent all-star card. Let's see who the top indie guys are and bring them to one location once, you know, we get to see them at WrestleCon, but they're all on different cards that weekend and that stuff. And, you know, on WrestleMania weekend, they're all on different cards and working like 5 or 6 different matches at different events, right? It's kind of like the Street Performers Festival of pro wrestling, or the Fringe Theater Festival of pro wrestling, which, you know, if you live in cities that do that type of stuff, you know exactly what I mean. Whereas if you can get all the independent stars into one kind of all-star event, which this thing looks like it's going to shape out to be, I think it's really cool, and I think you can probably make a few names off of this. So it'll be fun to see. I've talked for way too long. We'll catch you guys next time. See ya.